said, how is Biden responsible? Because if he's the president, everybody is going to blame him for everything. And granted, there are things that I'll blame him for too. He's mentioned that we need to stand up to the gun lobby, but guess what? We're not going to. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do fan art here. I'm just gonna talk about this real quick. I kind of predicted that this was going to happen, that this was going to be what we had. But let's talk about it and what it means. As I've made obvious to people for a while now, I live in Georgia's 14th district. So this particular race means something to me. My prediction has been since the beginning that Marcus Flowers is going to be the one that is going to win, despite me really rather having Holly in, and it's going to be against Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want you to note, this is the situation that District 14 is in. Look at how many votes Marjorie got. And these are the primaries. Statistically, fewer people show up for primaries than they do for the races for the actual seats. Marcus Flowers won with 20,000 votes. That is only a hair higher than the person who lost to Marjorie, who only gained 16.9% of the votes. Marjorie Taylor Greene in the primaries, where fewer people vote, got 72,000 votes versus Marcus's 20,000. I have been saying it repeatedly, and I will say it again. People fucking love Marjorie Greene here. They do. Her signs are everywhere. Support for her is miles long. Everywhere you go, every neighborhood you walk into, she is the sign that you see the most. Second to her, signs for Brian Kemp, the current governor of the entire state. How does an actual human support her? Easy. They don't care about the shit she does. But when Marjorie won her bid for the primaries, the first thing she said was, sending me to Washington will send a message to the blood-sucking globalist elites. So we have our lovely anti-Semitic dog whistle in globalism, and we have our equally lovely, whatever the fuck you want to call the QAnon dog whistle, in that little call for adrenochrome there. I understand that blood-sucking is a pretty vapid term that gets used and thrown around all the time, but also remember this is somebody who has been in blatant support of QAnon from the beginning, who believes that Jewish space lasers nuked California? Benefit of the doubt cannot be thrown in a situation like this. If somebody is prone to the language, it is always a good idea to look at the things they say and just assume the dog whistle, because they have not given you a reason to assume otherwise. Said, what's adrenochrome? I haven't heard that term before. Oh boy. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Can we do a quick talk on QAnon since we're here? We're talking about Marjorie Greene, who's definitely going to be winning District 14. We're gonna taint you. We're going to give you information that prior to this you weren't privy to. And don't worry, your life was much better. I am about to make your life significantly worse. This is your opportunity, your trigger warning. This is the time where you can click away from the video. You can choose not to listen to the dumb fucking shit I'm about to say. Or alternatively, you can accept the fact that you brought this on yourself. So let's talk about QAnon. The idea is, in a very TLDR nutshell, this is something that I could technically make a 5-hour video on and still not run out of shit to talk about. QAnon is the idea that every conspiracy theory you have ever thought, ever of all time, has all been true. All of them, at once. Even the ones that contradict, especially the ones that contradict themselves. And they all culminate in the idea that Democrats are pedophilic vampires. I shit you not, that Democrats are pedophilic vampires. Because they believe that there is a special magical substance that is held explicitly within children, unviolated children. And this special substance is called adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is supposed to be, basically, it's just blood. It's just blood, really. But the idea is that it's a fountain of youth of sorts. The theory goes that Democrats, as pushed as pushed and puppeteered by a Jewish cabal of globalist elites, are taking young children and extending their lives by sucking the youth out of them, by harvesting adrenochrome, and they are doing this in facilities that are held under pizzerias. And that's where we get shit like Pizzagate, that I have people around me I have met and talked to in real life who truly believed that Pizzagate was real and that it was still real despite the obvious stuff not being true. Because we literally had a guy run his ass into the pizzeria that supposedly held all these kids and found that it didn't even have a fucking basement. It said adrenochrome is an actual physical compound. Yeah, not in their reality. In their reality, it's magic child blood. It's magic child blood. There's another side to this, and it's the idea of the figure Q. Now, Q, as much as I would like to say, is literally just, you know, proto-Discord from Star Trek. As much as I would like that, no. Q is supposedly one guy, or several guys using one account, doesn't matter, but one guy who will drop information on anonymous boards, usually, you know, 4chan, shit like that, poll, etc. Will drop information on anonymous boards and will make predictions about what's going to happen in the next 6 months, week, year, etc. It's prophecy making. It's the same thing as a prophet. Q is a prophet. It's the idea anyway. And Q is there to leak information from inside the globalist cabal so that patriots can be better armed with info to fight said globalists, which, again, that's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. That just means Jews. Now, there's more layers to this, too. Q gets to pick particular warriors who are supposed to get special information. One of these special warriors was Donald Trump, apparently, supposedly. The idea was that Donald Trump was going into Washington. When you heard the term drain the swamp, it really meant remove all of the evil politicians who are siphoning adrenochrome out of children to extend their lives. That's what that term meant to the QAnon movement. Donald Trump was the hero going in to save the children. And this conspiracy wraps in things like the Sandy Hook shooting being a false flag incident, the idea that Hollywood has to send messages out to people a couple years before an event like 9/11 or the Florida oil spills. All of those conspiracy theories that people had previously latched onto as individual things are all wrapped up into the idea of QAnon, that actually there is a person who is on our side, quote, quote, who is pulling all that information out and going, yes, all of this is real. Be very afraid. They are coming for your children in more ways than one. And then, yes, of course, Q sort of disappeared. The followers have spun completely out of fucking control. But I give that preamble, I give that information, that TLDR that is missing all kinds of info. There's all kinds of specifics that I'm not dropping in this. It said, KH, did you have to word it that way? Yes, because actually, the QAnon movement, for the most part, believed that Epstein's Island was actually verification that Pizzagate was real. So, yes, I had to word it that way, not just because it was a terribly off-color joke, but also because it is literally what they believe. I say all this to remind you all that Marjorie Taylor Greene, for the longest time, was a huge proponent of the QAnon conspiracy theories. The only point in time in which she has done anything close to denouncing Q in any way, shape, or form has been when her job has been on the line. A job that, mind you, makes her $140,000 a year base salary, not counting the several donations she got to her campaign, which summed the total of about $450,000 over and above an actual loan that she got during the campaign, of which I do not know the numbers for that specifically. On top of that, I should also note, there's another part of this as well. If we're talking about the financials, if we're talking about that for Marjorie Taylor Greene, then there's certainly another part of this that we need to get into, and that is these people are fanatics. 110% fanatics. And I'm not saying that so that I can actually, you know, have my funny, haha, look, she's actually a supervillain moment. I'm not doing that. I'm doing that because I think you guys are crazy. Old School AJ says, for the longest time, she still is. She distanced herself for like 5 minutes and then kept saying the same crap. Oh, no, I understand. That's why I said the only times that she has distanced herself from Q has been when it directly affected her job. Like when she showed herself at Nick Fuentes' white nationalist rally, and she distanced herself from Fuentes for a little bit just because cameras were on her, but then immediately was still talking afterwards with all the same people. But I think you guys are crazy when you drop even 1 gifted sub. I think you guys are crazy when you drop 10 gifted subs. I think when shit happens like my car's master cylinder going out and I do a 24-hour stream and people drop most of the money for the repairs before I even get to the stream, I think y'all are crazy. Because those sums can be measured in hundreds of dollars. In some cases, thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars get spent immediately on a bill or a car repair, but still that. Marjorie Taylor Greene's fans, however, buy her $100,000 cars. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene used donors' campaign contributions to buy herself a luxury vehicle worth $92,000, FEC records show. The expenditure will prove controversial as the May 24th primary approaches. No, it won't. Nobody will give a shit. Nobody talked about it. Nobody said a thing about this. Nobody cared. But not just because of the expensive, swanky nature of the vehicle, but because Greene's second biggest source of donations is retired Americans, meaning she effectively raided donor Social Security checks to buy a ticketed vehicle from a Buick/GMC dealership. OpenSecrets.org shows that Taylor's second biggest industry donating to her was retired, meaning senior citizens who are increasingly finding themselves cash-strapped as Bidenflation continues to bite hard. They've been the ones bankrolling her campaign. At time of writing, the website of the dealership question shows no vehicle for sale with a sticker price above $81,000. That would get you a brand spanking new 2022 GMC, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to go into any of that stuff. You've got to wonder, I think you guys are nuts when any dollar amount ending in a 0 is dropped. When any dollar amount with a 0 is dropped on my stream. I think that is nuts. The fact that anybody is willing to pay any amount of money to me at all is crazy to me. But the amount of money that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene make from being politicians, which in her case, she's politician and pundit, it is enough for her to buy my house's entire value plus a new car that is 50,000 times better than what I have and still have shit left over. So no wonder they didn't give a shit the elderly were dying of COVID. Well, they don't give any care. They don't. My prediction is that Marjorie is going to beat Marcus Flowers. Marcus Flowers is a Democrat, but there's a lot we don't know about Marcus at all. We don't. Because with Marcus Flowers, he used to work for the military-industrial complex insofar as he worked with a private military contracting firm of some kind, but he's never actually told anybody what that was. His exact words have been, not Blackwater. Said, so, Suris, $1 is crazy to you? Yes. A single dollar is crazy to me. Any amount of money being dropped on me is crazy to me. Said, how is Biden responsible? Because if he's the president, everybody is going to blame him for everything. And granted, there are things that I'll blame him for, too. He's mentioned that we need to stand up to the gun lobby, but guess what? We're not going to. That's not going to happen. And A Dragon says, oh, come on, I've worked for the military-industrial complex, and then I've passed that money on to you, that military-industrial complex onto you by gifting subs, making you a part of the problem. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism. There's my easy deflection. Apparently dropping $42.69 is perfectly sane. Oh, my God. But the point is, Liquor Lush, thank you for gifting out 5 subs. I appreciate it. The point is, we are going to be seeing a lot more of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I do not see Marcus Flowers beating her, because Marcus Flowers only got 20,000 votes. In Georgia District 14, there are more people registered Republican than Democrat, and 103,000 people in our district voted. 72,000 of them, or voted Republican. 72,000 of them voted for Marjorie. Of the 26,000 Democrats that voted in the primary, only 20,000 of them voted for Marcus, which is a significant number if it's in a vacuum, but it's not. If every single person who's on who chose not to vote for Marjorie because she's not sane, every person who voted for Jennifer Strahan and Eric Cunningham, if they funneled all of their votes into Marcus Flowers, and everybody who voted for Holly and Wendy funneled their votes into Marcus Flowers, guess what? He still would not have enough votes to beat Marjorie Greene based on these numbers. He wouldn't. He would have nothing. He wouldn't even have half in the end. And that's the reality of living in my district. That's the reality of living here with a psychopathic leader who believes that Democrats are siphoning adrenochrome from kids and that Jewish space lasers nuked California. So to be honest, primaries have low turnout usually. You're right. They do. I don't think anything is going to change when we get to the actual next bit. Because if Democrats didn't care in this district enough to actually vote in or to actually like choose between Marcus, Wendy, and Holly, then they're not going to come in with enough gusto to oust Marjorie. If we end up in the reality where Marjorie loses, then I will feel just amazed. An entire weight will be lifted off of my shoulders. I want to be wrong. I don't think I will be. And I hate that. But that's how I feel about it. That's as off the cuff a segment as I can get. I originally wasn't going to talk about this in an actual segment bit, but it only made sense to. Insert end of video tagline here.